What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. And in today's video, I am super excited to get back into draft content. This being my top 20 quarterbacks for the 2025 NFL Draft. This, of course, is a preseason ranking, but this is a mega episode, to be honest with you, because I usually do 10 quarterbacks with about I would say 5 or 6 honorable mentions for the most part when I usually do these, or the 3 videos that I dropped last year. That's how it went. But I'm going to be doing 20 for the quarterbacks. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do top 10, top 15, or top 20 for the other positions. I'm going to try and get all these positions out to you guys before the college football season starts. So I believe I'll be 1 week away around there. I think if I do all of these uploads on Fridays or Saturdays, it'll be either the first week of the college football season, week 0 really, or on the actual first day of college football. So I'm super excited to get all these preseason rankings out to you guys. So these are top 20s. And before we get into this video, I just want to lay this out for you guys real quick. A very, very good friend of mine, J-Wack Gridiron, and myself have an unbelievable project that we've been working on since the very end of the 2024 NFL draft cycle. It is the Dashing Draft Guys. Now, I think that it's a pretty good name for the most part. I really do like it. A little cheesy, but whatever. We both came up with it. We both liked it. So essentially, it is a Patreon with all of our draft content in it. Now, that's not saying that I will be exclusively doing Patreon. Obviously, I will be dropping as many videos or maybe even more videos as I was doing in the 2024 draft cycle. But this is a consolidated place where you can get our big board, really his, and it's 2 of everything. So you get J-Wack's big board, all of his rankings for every single position. You get the same thing I do as well. If you guys want to stick around at the end of the video, I will show you my entire quarterback ranking. I believe I have 48 prospects on there right now, 48 quarterbacks. So almost all of them have scouting reports. So it'll have everything. It'll have their measurables, scouting reports, what round we think that they're going to be drafted in, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, it's going to change as the season goes on. So it's not only the big board you're paying for. We're doing live film sessions on Friday nights. We're doing player interviews. We're doing power rankings. We're doing a lot of stuff on this channel, and it's going to be all premium, high quality stuff for you guys. If you guys love draft content as much as I do, it's $5 a month if you guys want the total package, which would include the draft board. The free package, so go over, I will leave the link in the pinned comment below. The free version has everything except the big board. So if you guys are interested in the big board, you're going to have to drop that $4.99 a month. But I think it's well worth it, especially since that board will be forever changing up until the actual draft date itself. And then, of course, guilt-free, you could cancel your subscription after, but then you're probably going to want to re-up that subscription when the 2026 draft cycle comes around. So that's my spiel to end this. One other thing before we start this. There's a few prospects that are going to be missing from this, and that's just because I haven't made a determination on them yet. So a couple big names that you're probably not going to see in this top 20. You're not going to see Caden Salter. You're not going to see Jackson Dart. You're not going to see Donovan Smith. You're not going to see some guys like that. But like I said, if you wait until the end of the video, there's different categories that I have all these players in. So you will see the full gist of what I'm talking about. But really, the guys that I've left out, it's a preseason ranking. So don't kill me. Obviously, as the season goes on, things will change. But this is a preseason ranking. This is off of my evaluations that I've given out so far based off of the 2023 film. Obviously, we haven't seen the 2024 film yet. So this is what it is. And we are going to go to number 20. Obviously, we're going from 20 to number 1. And this is Kyle McCord, the Ohio State transfer who now lands at Syracuse. Now, for me, I kind of feel bad for Kyle McCord. The reason being is I think that if Ohio State didn't burn his redshirt year, I think if he were to enter in the 2026 NFL draft, I think that he would be much better off. I think he'd probably be a top 12, top 10 guy in 2026. I really do think he's going to find his own at Syracuse because he really wasn't a bad quarterback at Ohio State. I don't think he was Ohio State quality, if that makes sense, but I think he's going to settle in at Syracuse, and I think that they're going to make some real noise and do some real damage for the college football season. But McCord is someone that I like. He has a really decent arm. He's got good accuracy to all 3 levels. One thing that I kept seeing over and over and over again, though, is he stands still as a statue in the pocket. So obviously, that is not great. But I think it does stink for him that even though this isn't the greatest quarterback class, in my opinion, he's stuck at number 20 in my preseason rankings because he doesn't have that extra year of eligibility, unfortunately. So this is it for him. He has to make it count this year. So, I don't have my projections up here, draft projections. I think it's a little too early for that. But when you see my big board later on at the end of the video, you will see what I'm talking about. It has age, weight, all their measurables for the most part, and of course, a full scouting report. So I will not be giving you the full scouting report on every single prospect. So moving on to number 19 on the list here, we have Tyler Van Dyke, another transfer here from Miami. This time he's going to Wisconsin. I think it's a big boost for Wisconsin. You're getting a 6'4", 224-pound quarterback prospect, 22 years old, going to be 23 years old at the time of the draft cycle, or really the beginning of the draft cycle. Van Dyke is someone last year, if you go all the way back to my 2024 way too early mock draft after the 2023 NFL draft, you'll see that I actually had Tyler Van Dyke as a first round prospect. Now, the fall off has been detrimental in my opinion, but I think a fresh new start at Wisconsin for this year will do wonders for him. I mean, he's got an incredible frame. He's got a fantastic arm, and he really knows how to drive the football when he throws it. He actually does a decent job of having that really nice balance between having good touch on some throws and then really knowing when to drive it into those tight windows. So I like that a lot. But another thing too, for someone that kind of flees the pocket quite often, he's not really the greatest athlete. His accuracy is very erratic as well to all three levels of the defense. So there's a lot that he has to work on if he wants to improve himself, but the intangibles are all there. He just hasn't put it together yet. And I know that sounds crazy because I believe this is his 5th year in college right now. So if you haven't put it together by year 5, I mean, I really don't know what to tell you at that point, but there is hope for Tyler Van Dyke. We just saw a 5th-year senior get drafted in the first round in Xavier Legette this past season. So 2 different positions, of course. I think Van Dyke has the talent to make some serious noise. He just has to work on some of those kinks in his game to further his draft stock for 2025. At number 18 here, I have another one of my 2024 favorites in KJ Jefferson, another player that has transferred, this time to UCF, and I really think UCF is going to make some serious noise in college football this year. I don't think a playoff berth is completely out of the question for this team. They have some real dogs, and KJ Jefferson is a fantastic collegiate quarterback. This is a player that has put up considerable numbers throughout his career at Arkansas. He has transferred for his 5th year here to UCF. Another one of an older quarterback prospects here. He's going to be 24 at the time of his rookie season. He's got a humongous, fantastic, impressive frame, an effortless thrower of the football as well. He's got some pretty decent touch, but a couple things that bother me about him is he's got some strange throwing mechanics, and also if he's not playing in an RPO or the play isn't an RPO, if you ask him to do a 3 or 5 step drop, it does look rather uncomfortable. He's not a natural passer, if that makes sense. He's not someone that's going to be a fluid mover in the pocket. He has escapability. He's got pretty awesome athleticism for his incredible size, but I just don't think that that's going to be something. If most of your big plays come out of RPOs, I mean, that's not really something that a lot of NFL scouts are looking for. As the game is continuously changing, of course, that is taken more into consideration. But Jefferson is another super solid player that I do think could end up being a top 10 quarterback when it's all said and done in this class. I just think that he has to kind of put it all together at UCF, and he's got the talent around him, that's for sure. So I think it's just a matter of if he could put it all together at a consistent basis, clean up, that throwing motion, which, I mean, you guys got to take a look at it. It is very strange. It's a very strange throwing motion, very uncomfortable in normal dropbacks as well. So we got to work out those kinks if he wants to really be a draftable quarterback in the 2025 draft. Coming in at number 17, we have DJ Uiagalelei. I apologize if I say his name wrong. I've said it if you know me or you know this channel, I am the king of pronouncing people's names wrong. And right away, a lot of people think that, oh, well, he doesn't know how to pronounce his name. He doesn't know anything about the player. That's not true. I just have some sort of speech issue at some way, shape, or form. I cannot cognitively adjust the way that my mouth is saying some of these players' names. So Uiagalelei is what I have decided on. I think I already said it wrong, different 2 times, but he's a fantastic player. Another transfer here. So we're getting a transfer from Clemson, from Oregon State. We've settled on a Florida State here. He's going to be an older quarterback prospect, an insane frame, fantastic fantastic thrower of the football. He's got really, really good zip on his passes. He keeps his eyes moving, which I really like. He doesn't stare down his one target or his primary read. I love that as well. And his feet don't stop moving. That's another thing with, like I mentioned, with Kyle McCord, if you got sandbags attached to your ankles. That's not Uiagalelei. He is someone that is consistently hopping around that pocket. Remember, we used to make, this is a crazy comparison, but remember we used to make fun of Peyton Manning for always having that choppy footwork, always moving his feet, almost like he was doing high knees. Uiagalelei is someone that does that a lot, as well as consistently moving around. But I will say a couple things here. He doesn't sense pressure very well, and his accuracy has steadily declined since his time in Clemson. So those are some things that he has to work on. Of course, he's going to have the talent around him at Florida State. It's just a matter of if he puts it together. But this is someone that I've seen it very, very high on some boards. I've seen him in the top 10. I've even seen him in the top 5. So this is someone that, I mean, this is a frame that NFL scouts absolutely dream about, and he's got a cannon of an arm. If he could just put everything together on the same trajectory as the way that he was at Clemson, I feel like this is another player that we're looking at, similar to KJ Jefferson, that could be inside that top 12, top 10 when it's all said and done at the end of this season. At number 16 here, I have Ohio State transfer Will Howard. Now, one thing that absolutely stands out about Will Howard is his incredible frame. Has arguably the most impressive frame out of any quarterback in this class. 6'5", 242 pounds. He's a fantastic runner of the football as well. Howard also maneuvers the pocket very well for his size, and there's some really good believability in his play fakes as well. He gets the ball out quickly for the most part. Now, I don't know how much of that was actually schemed at Kansas State, but he does a really good job of getting the ball out very, very fast. Overall, he has some pretty decent arm strength as well. He's got that NFL caliber arm strength. He's not going to completely blow you away with his arm strength, but he's got enough to make every NFL throw. A couple things that bothered me about him were backpedaling under pressure. He's completely moving south. He is not trying to escape the pocket. He's not moving up in the pocket to try and escape. He's moving completely backwards. Didn't like that a lot. Forces his first read a lot, as well as something that I wasn't very happy with. It seems like he really struggles to go through some progressions. Now, whether that be a skill issue or a skill gap between Howard and the wide receivers that he had around him, maybe we'll see something different at Ohio State because, of course, they have the cream of the crop talent. So maybe we'll see something different. And he struggled and panicked in slow developing plays is what I saw a lot as well. So something to look forward, not something to look forward to, something to look out for when you're watching Ohio State games this year for Will Howard. At number 15 here, I have Brady Cook. And the funny thing about Brady Cook is he was one of the first evaluations I had. And besides for the top guys that we will be getting to eventually, Brady Cook was at like number 5 or number 6 for me for a really long time. He was someone that I was super impressed with. And this might be, for me, I feel like I have really fair rankings for the most part, and I feel like this is the most unfair ranking so far. I really do like Brady Cook, and I think, again, this is someone that could find his way into the top 10 when it's all said and done towards the end of the season. But Brady Cook, more of a traditional pocket passer, has some excellent arm strength, excellent touch, great accuracy to all 3 levels of the field, but don't let that pocket passer label fool you. This is someone that possesses more than enough athleticism to maneuver the pocket, to escape pressure, and he is I would say he's a big game player because he's put up some awesome games against like Ohio State, Tennessee, all these different teams. He's put up some really, really solid games as well and put his team in a position to win. He's smart with the football. He takes care of the football as well. Big time throw rate was 9th in the FBS last year. So that's something that you'd really like to see as well. He does need to go through his progressions a little bit faster. When he's pressured, he does tend to throw the ball off his back foot. So it kind of floats up there. He does have really good arm strength, but obviously it doesn't matter how good your arm is when you're backpedaling, and you kind of just heave that ball up there, of course, it's going to float. And a lot of his big-time plays did come out of RPOs. I'd like to see more traditional drops, especially from someone that's labeled more as a pocket passer than RPOs. So a lot of his big plays came off of those, option plays there. So I would like to see a little bit of a difference for Brady Cook this year. If I saw a little bit more of his big plays come from those traditional drops or, more pro-style offensive plays, I would definitely have him probably around 12 or 11, but for now, I feel like 15 is a perfectly fine floor with the ceiling being around that 8, 9, 10 area. We've talked about a few prospects that have fallen off at this point in their collegiate career. Let's talk about someone that has had a resurgence in his collegiate career so far, and that's Graham Mertz, someone who was excellent for the Florida Gators last year. In a year that really there wasn't too much to be thrilled about for the Florida Gators, I think Graham Mertz was one of those bright spots as well. One thing about Mertz that was just such a huge difference from the last few years to his first year in Florida was the turnover worthy play rate. 1.4% turnover worthy play rate, which was third lowest among qualified quarterbacks in the FBS. He simply just didn't put the ball in danger. He didn't fumble the ball too much either, or at least turn over the ball that much. He's got awesome arm strength. And one thing that I really liked was he wasn't afraid to just rip it into those tight windows as well. He's got some pretty decent accurate to the short intermediate, and he's got decent accuracy long as well. And he was not afraid to rip it into those tight windows there. He's a good enough athlete to escape pressure, and he actually senses pressure pretty well. So I don't know what happened to Graham Mertz last year at Florida. But this is another player that I had very, very highly rated until I completed my evaluation, my preseason evaluations. He was up to I think at one point he was at 4 for me. That was super early on, of course, but I was really impressed with what he was doing from the quarterback position. A couple things that you got to worry about here. Older quarterback prospect, of course. He does have trouble reading the middle of the field sometimes, and as we know, at the NFL level, the middle of the field, you have to complete passes over the middle of the field. You simply cannot just keep attacking the boundaries. Despite the low turnover-worthy play rate, though, he did take a lot of risks. A lot of those tight window throws were knocked down as well. Now, I love the confidence. I appreciate the confidence trying to rip it. He has more than enough arm strength to do so, but a lot of those passes did get knocked down or dropped interceptions as well. So, I would be a little weary about that. He's got that newfound confidence now that he actually played like a good collegiate football player. Let's see him grow upon that. And this is someone that I really do think could sneak his way into that early day 2 consideration with another good season. Now we move on to Dillon Gabriel here at number 13. So maybe a little bit lower than some people would have. I've seen Dillon Gabriel all the way up at number 1. Now, I respect everyone's quarterback rankings. Everyone values things differently. I think that is a little too rich for my blood, clearly here as I have him at 13. But, a couple things are working against him. Number one, his size and his age. He's going to be a 24-year-old rookie. He's 5'11" now. I know we've seen quarterbacks in the past, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, kind of overcome that shortness for the most part. But Gabriel transferring from Oklahoma to Oregon, this is a really, really quarterback-friendly system here. I expect him to be a Heisman favorite in 2024-25. I mean, he's got really awesome arm strength. He does. Awesome arm strength, fantastic accuracy, great touch, and he's a big game player. He has that clutch gene in him that I haven't seen in a lot of other college quarterbacks. Last year, going into this year, evaluating these guys, he doesn't. Obviously, you think of Michael Penix and Quinn, not Quinn Ewers, and Caleb Williams and guys like that had that certain clutch gene to them. J.J. McCarthy from last year. You don't see too much of that with this class, but Dillon Gabriel probably has the biggest clutch gene out of any quarterback prospect here. But like I said, I don't love his size. He does scramble well, and he's a good athlete, but not a great frame. Of course, he doesn't throw well outside of the structure either, so I would consider him, even though he does move well in the pocket, he's more of a pocket passer. On the run, he's just no bueno, especially going to his left. I saw a lot of completely erratic throws, and to his right, of course, a left-handed quarterback throwing on his right is really, really difficult in its own right. So I do understand that. And he doesn't do too well under pressure. Does tend to panic just a little bit more that I would like, and he does need to process the field a little bit faster. But I expect a huge jump from Dillon Gabriel going from Oklahoma to Oregon this year. So I'm super excited to see what he does. So maybe a bit of a surprise here at number 12, but I have Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. I really think Garrett is I went on record. Now, I'm someone that owns his bad takes. This wasn't necessarily a bad take, but it is something I did say that if you look at it out of context, you could say, wow, that's not a great take. One thing I did say last year was a lot of people were saying how Jayden Daniels was going to be a huge riser. I said, yeah, if he could work on throwing the ball down the field, he could be a riser, but we don't even know if he's the best quarterback on the roster. So Jayden Daniels, obviously Heisman winner, fantastic season last year, number 2 overall pick. Clearly, I think that he's the better quarterback now out of the two, but Garrett Nussmeier in his own right. Despite only having one collegiate start under his belt, he has one of the strongest arms, not only in this class, but in all of college football. The ball absolutely explodes out of his hand. He's got good pocket presence for someone that doesn't have a ton of experience. Just one turnover-worthy play in 78 pass attempts last season. Like I said, one career start. His throwing mechanics are a little strange, and he could go through his progressions a little bit faster. It's going to be very interesting to see how he performs without the Malik Neighbors and the Brian Thomas Jr.'s of the world. But LSU, in my opinion, could be a hot take, is wide receiver university, in my opinion. So I don't think that he'll have any problems finding guys to throw to. But Nussmeier is someone that I think could have that Jayden Daniels type rise this year in this class. Maybe not all the way to the likes of the number 2 overall pick, but maybe based off of his age and his arm strength and overall athletic ability, he could probably be in that round 2, late round 1. Maybe another surprise here. At number 11, just missing out on my top 10, I have Seth Henigan, quarterback from Memphis. If you guys aren't familiar with Seth Henigan's game, I strongly suggest turning on the tape. This is someone that, going into it, this was usually the way that I do my quarterback evaluations is I look and see who's on my board, and then I try and go from the bottom up. So I just really, in no specific way, shape, or form, I just kind of throw names at the board, and wherever they land, and then that's how I do my quarterback rankings. Not without evaluations, of course. I meant that's how I do my quarterback evaluation. So Seth Henigan was actually the first quarterback evaluation I did, and I was blown away by his tape, to be quite honest with you. I didn't have any expectations going into it, but you want to talk about someone that remains stoic under pressure and in the pocket. That's Seth Henigan, man. He will take an absolute shot to deliver a football, and he will deliver it expertly, especially down the field. His deep ball accuracy and his arm strength is something that really, really popped off the screen at me as something that I was like, wow, this is a very translatable tape to the NFL. Good improvisational skills as well. He's a really underrated athlete. Good size. He moves well to the left, moves well to the right. Like I said, he's toughness. He's got toughness. He's gritty. He's someone that's going to take a shot to deliver the football, and a ton of experience too. We're coming in on his 4th year of starting here. He started as a true freshman, so he's going to have 4 years of starting experience under his belt as well. He gets the ball out very, very quickly as well. A couple things. It didn't seem like he really wanted to let the ball fly. So what I mean by that is when you watch him throw the ball deep, he clearly has, like if you watch him release the football, he clearly has a lot more to give on his arm. It's just sometimes it looks like he's aiming and he's not just trusting his arm and letting the ball absolutely fly like we know that he can. He stared down his primary read a little bit too much for me, and I would like to see him throw guys open, not wait until the guy gets open per se. But these are things that I feel like are very, very fixable. This is someone that to me is a super sleeper here, as someone that I could see having a pretty decent path to a starting spot in the NFL at some point. I'm super excited about Seth Henigan. And if it wasn't for our next guy here, he would be in my top 10. And that guy is Preston Stone, SMU Mustangs quarterback here. This is another one of those guys that I really wish, as of right now, I could justify putting him a lot higher. Super impressed with his tape. This is a certified gunslinger, everyone. This is the guy in the class that is that certified gunslinger. He puts up some unbelievable passing numbers, 4th in big time throws in the entire FBS last year in 30, 8th highest qualified yards per attempt as well, and the 4th highest passing grade in the entire country. More accurate than his numbers would indicate. He's got a 69.1% adjusted completion percentage. He did suffer with a lot. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think the drop percentage was like 9.8%, something that you definitely don't want to see as a quarterback. But he's a really, really good athlete that has no problem extending plays and escaping pressure. He was only sacked 13 times last year. And although his offensive line did hold up quite nicely, he was only pressured on 13.6% of his dropbacks. He also escaped a ton of sacks as well. So not the greatest opposing competition, I would say, up until this point in his career. SMU plays in the I really hope I'm getting this right off the top of my head. I believe they play in the All-American Conference, the AAC. I could be completely wrong with that, or the American Conference, one of those two. I don't really remember off the top of my head. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this because I love the conferences and I study them all the time, and the way that they, especially with the new way that everything has configured, I've been trying to buckle down and really, really get everything right there. But he throws off his back foot a lot as well, especially under pressure. So even when he's not pressured, sometimes he does throw off his back, but I really like to see him kind of drive the ball through his body because he's got such great arm strength as well. And really, it seems reserved up until this point. And he doesn't consistently get his lower half into his mechanics. So that's something that I would like to see as well. A lot of throws are all arm. So when he does get his lower half involved, he really does know how to rip it, but I would just like to see a little bit more consistency from that. But Preston Stone is someone that you need to get familiar with as a potential top quarterback in the 2025 class. All right, maybe a controversial one here at number 9, but I have Quinn Ewers at number 9. Now, there is a video out there on YouTube, and you could search it and you could watch it because I did it and it took me 2 days to watch it. This was the longest quarterback evaluation I did because I wanted to make sure I absolutely nailed it. There's a 2 hour and 16-minute, give or take a few minutes, video of every single throw of Quinn Ewers' 2023 season. And like an absolute maniac and a loon like I am, I sat and I watched the entire video. Not only did I watch the entire video, I watched it again. And I really wanted to make sure I got this preseason evaluation correctly, but really, what it comes down to is that Quinn Ewers is just a ball of potential and talent that just cannot consistently put it together. Whether it be, now I'm not talking about performances, I'm talking about mechanics-wise, I'm talking about footwork-wise. Really, case in point with Quinn Ewers and where he fails the most in me is that he has a big-time arm, but he cannot consistently maintain his deep ball accuracy. And it's frustrating to watch because, I mean, especially when you had legitimately the fastest wide receiver in NFL history up until this point on your team in Xavier Worthy, where you're sending him deep and you're still overthrowing him. It was immensely frustrating to watch. This is someone that it was my most brutal evaluation because I was just so annoyed with how many throws that he missed. But on the flip side, he's a good quarterback. He is a good quarterback. He's just not consistent enough for me. He commands the huddle. He's a good leader as well. He's really good off the platform. But like I said, poor footwork. Accuracy down the field was just really, really poor. But when he's maneuvering the pocket as well, he does not read it well. If he's running around escaping pressure, he does not read the field well either. He will force throws into double coverage where you're kind of pulling your hair out and you're like, my God, what are you doing, Quinn? What did you see on that play? So, and he's got a slow release and a little bit of an awkward throwing motion as well. So Quinn Ewers, to me, I feel like I ripped him apart, but I'm just frustrated because I want him to do so much better than his performances when you break it down on a evaluation level will allow you to believe. So Quinn Ewers is going to settle in the top 10 for me. He's going to be number 9. This is someone that I think has legitimate potential to be probably the 3rd best quarterback in the class, maybe even the 2nd, depending on how you feel about Shedeur Sanders. But yeah, Quinn Ewers is going to stick at 9 for me. I just liked the other 8 guys a lot more, or I like what I saw from last year's tape a lot more. But Quinn Ewers, I'm going to leave that door wide open for some massive growth throughout the season. And now we're coming to a player where you have to feel like we're scratching the surface of his potential at this point. And we really could be seeing a lot more of it this year. And that's going to be Riley Leonard, the Duke transfer to Notre Dame. This is where I feel like, is he going to validate a lot of our feelings in him where he does have some of the best raw talent in the class? See, for me, Riley Leonard not only is a fantastic thrower of the football, he's got the great touch, he's an explosive runner of the football as well. He's someone that is just supremely athletic. We've seen some unbelievable runs from him. And with the talent level that was around him at Duke, you have to think that we're only scratching the surface of what he truly can become. Now you're looking at, I don't know, this is not me trying to be rude. I just genuinely don't know at this point. Are we considering Notre Dame an elite program right now? I don't know, but obviously the talent is going to be tenfold better than it was what he was dealing with at Duke. I'm super excited to see what happens this year. Again, a great commander of the huddle, a great leader. He is someone that doesn't really take too many risks, so I would love to see him kind of really rip it. So I think the hesitancy to let it rip at Duke was purely off of the fact, like I said, that there wasn't too much talent around him. So I really want to see him let the football fly this upcoming season. you know, he's too quick to me to pull it down and scramble. Like I said, he's a good runner of the football, maybe too good for his own good, because I feel like sometimes he looks at his primary read. The primary read is not there. He doesn't go through his progressions, takes off, and he runs. Now, granted, that's not the worst thing in the world, but A, you're taking too many hits, and B, you could potentially be leaving a lot more yardage on the field by not scanning the field and looking through your progressions. So that's something I'd like to see as well. But again, maybe with bad offensive line play, poor talent around you, you don't trust the talent as much. I think Riley Leonard's in for a really, really good surprise season this year for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And then we get to one of my favorite prospects to watch, because I think Jalen Daniels was a little bit of a beautiful. Now, granted, 2023 sample size was not big. He was injured for most of the year. I had to dig back into 2022, and I classify him as more of a beautiful disaster, as something that it's like the pocket presence is there, the arm strength is there, the mobility is clearly there. He is a big time, big play waiting to happen. He just has that unbelievable athletic ability that you're just waiting for him to explode on a play. He really has that it factor for me in this class, where I don't feel like a ton of the elite level quarterback prospects have that athletic factor in them. I feel like Jalen Daniels truly is a fantastic athlete. He layers his passes beautifully as well. That's something that we haven't seen too much from a lot of these big guys in this class as well. But he's got a nagging injury history. He sticks around in the pocket a little too long for me. So yeah, he has that beautiful escapability, but I feel like sometimes he kind of creates his own pressure, if that makes sense, where he will stick around, the pocket is collapsing, and he'll try and stay in there just a tick too late, and it might be too late for him to escape that pressure. Needs to take less hits. I think he needs to, I don't think that he needs to tuck it and run as often as he does. I think that he needs to, scan the field a little bit better. Again, another guy that kind of looks at his primary read, and if it's not there, he's pulling it down and he's trying to run. But another thing too, got a little bit of a weird throwing motion, and what I've noticed is if he really wants to zip the ball in to his receiver, he kind of has to wind up. So it's a little bit of a slower throwing motion when he really wants to zip it in there. So he could be losing time there as well. If you're looking for a tight sideline throw, that extra split second is going to mean the difference between your wide receiver being there or being out of bounds. So again, a lot to work on for Jalen Daniels, but someone that I really like. It could be a tremendous riser. I've seen him as high as number 2 on some people's boards. I'll settle for him at 7 because I do think he has that natural quarterback talent, but I would just like to see it on a more consistent basis, and I would like to see him stay healthy for an entire season. And now we've landed on number 6, just outside the top 5. I have Jalen Milroe here. And really the first thing that I want to say about Jalen Milroe is, one of the more polarizing quarterback prospects in this draft class, which just kind of seems how it is with these Alabama quarterbacks every single time that there's one that's highly touted. He, to me, is the best athlete of any of the quarterback prospects by far. I think he blows the entire competition out of the water. I can't wait. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but I cannot wait to see him athletically test at his pro day, at the combine, whatever other all-star circuit events that he goes to, because he is an athlete first and foremost to me. He's just a naturally gifted athlete. As a runner, fastest in the class. He absolutely blows away the competition. When he gets into the open field, he might as well be a wide receiver at that point in space. He's got fantastic burst. He's got fantastic running ability as well. Good arm strength as well, with good zip. I didn't see any passes that I thought, I don't know if he can make that throw. Angular freedom in his arm as well, which is what I really like, which is something that you don't see too often and something that needs to be looked at a little bit more. So Milroe could throw completely over the top. He could sidewind it in there as well. He's got the complete shoulder angular freedom when he throws the football. So I love seeing that as well. There's a lot to like about his throwing ability. He displayed some beautifully layered throws throughout the season. And to be honest with you, this is a Alabama team that offensively wasn't as talented, or at least weapon-wise, wasn't as talented as teams that we've seen in years prior. So you could only think of what Milroe would have been able to do with the Devonta Smiths or, the Jerry Judys of the world out there. So, and he had Jermaine Burton, Isaiah Bond. He had a couple really good wide receivers. Burton, a third round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, and Isaiah Bond is now on the Texas Longhorns. But a really, really solid quarterback prospect. I really enjoyed watching him as well. A great leader and a good football IQ too. A very, very smart football player. All arm thrower though. I mean, the bottom half is completely disengaged when he throws the football. It's pretty frustrating to watch actually because he's got a good arm as it is. I can only imagine how hard and how far he could throw the football if he engaged his lower half. And then when faced with pressure, doesn't keep his head up looking down the field. He is just focused on getting the hell out of there and trying to pick up a couple yards. He doesn't look for breakdowns in the defense at all. He just kind of wants to tuck it and get the hell out of there. And his anticipation throws could use a little bit more work. I've seen a few throws where instead of leading the wide receiver, he's kind of throwing it at them. And by the time the ball gets to the wide receiver, the ball's either back here, low, or completely misses the wide receiver. So he needs to lead his wide receivers a little bit better. He needs to trust his arm and his accuracy to get that football where it needs to give his wide receiver yards after the catch opportunities. I didn't see that too much this past year. I'm hoping that he can, get better on that. And one other thing to me that I don't usually look at too much, but I noticed it with Jalen Milroe, is against elite competition, elite defenses, he did not play very well. So I'm looking for that jump in play against those better teams, against those Michigans, against those LSUs, all those kind of teams that have fantastic defensive prospects on them. So Milroe is someone that I'm going to leave the door open to being a top 3 quarterback prospect, but right now he's going to settle on 6. And now we landed on another quarterback prospect in this draft class that I think is super polarizing. Cam Ward opens up my top 5 here. I just the overall football ability for me gets him to top 5, because if he had I guess maybe I'd say football IQ of some of the other quarterbacks in this class, I feel like he'd easily be number 1, number 2, or number 3. I settled on 5 here just purely off of football ability. A couple things that stand out negatively about Cam Ward is his turnover-worthy plays. Since dating back to 2022, 43 turnover-worthy plays. That's a lot. He fumbled 12 times last year as well. That's another huge issue for him, and he's overly aggressive. He will just kind of screw it, he's down there somewhere, and just absolutely launch a hose piece down the field and be completely wildly inaccurate. I'm very intrigued to see how he does at Miami. They have a couple good receivers down there. Xavier Restrepo comes to mind as well as someone that I think is going to do really well with Cam Ward. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does at Miami outside of Washington State. So great size as well. Fantastic arm. I would say Cam Ward and Garrett Nussmeier rival each other for the strongest arm in the entire class. The guys have, howitzers strapped to their right shoulders. They got fantastic arms, fantastic throwers of the football. He's a big play waiting to happen. Athletically, he's really good. Under pressure, he kind of crumbles as well. He's such a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde prospect to me, where I kind of felt naughty putting him at number 5 because I absolutely loved what I saw from the good, but from the bad, I wanted to put him in the bottom 15. I couldn't. I didn't know where to exactly settle, but I'm going to bank on the upside, and I'm going to bank on the fact that he has better-ish talent around him this year at Miami. I think he's going to be very, very good. I think he's going to lead Miami to something decent at this point this year, and I think he's going to rival a top 32 selection when it's all said and done. And then we've settled on potentially one of the biggest surprises in my rankings. That's Connor Weigman here from Texas A&M, my favorite collegiate football team. Now, okay, before you ask, the reason why they're my favorite college football team is because when I was growing up, Johnny Manziel was the quarterback of Texas A&M. Sue me. I'm sure that is a massive reason for a lot of people in my age range why they like Texas A&M. But to be fair, I haven't been a fair weather fan since. It hasn't necessarily been smooth sailing since the Johnny Manziel days, but I am still here. And Weigman is someone maybe physically doesn't rival some of the other guys in this class, but with his football IQ and his overall processing skills, he's got the goods to be a legitimate starting quarterback at the next level. Probably the best processor in the draft, in my opinion. Just my opinion at this point. Great arm as well. Football IQ, he's a savvy player. Maneuvers the pocket really, really well. A couple things that I hated about his game, though, is his mechanics are just super inconsistent. Has a weird sidearm delivery as well. And he likes to push the ball down the field. as well, and he does a good job of that. He's got plenty of arm strength, but not only that, yeah, sometimes it's just a complete overthrow, as where we saw guys that I mentioned like Seth Henigan, where you clearly knew that he had the arm strength. He undersold the arm strength. Connor Weigman kind of oversells the arm strength a lot. So I'd like to see him ring it in and be a little bit more accurate down the field. That's something that a lot of NFL scouts look for as well. But it feels like sometimes his footwork was kind of stuck in quicksand. So it's a lot of good for Weigman. And another thing, a big red flag is that serious foot injury that he had last year. So, he's only 20 years old, about to be 21, good size, good quarterback prospect, but he's already got a pretty serious injury under his CV. So that's something to look out for. But Weigman is someone that I'm banking on the potential, and I'm banking on the brain and the football savviness, the IQ. I'm hoping that physically he develops just as good as his brain and his processing skills, because if the rest of his body and the rest of his physical attributes can match his mind and his football IQ, you're going to have a serious quarterback prospect on your hands here. So I'm banking on the potential with these last two guys in my preseason top five, but I think that they're going to pay off. And now coming into our top three here, I have Noah Fifita from Arizona. Now, you look at the physical numbers, 5'11", 194. He's got the most uninspiring frame of any quarterback. But if you watch Noah Fifita play the quarterback position, man, it is going to be one of the most fun watches that you have at any time watching film. The most creative football thrower in the entire draft class, maybe even in college football. The guy just knows how to get the ball out. So we talked about range of motion and angular freedom with Jalen Milroe. Angular freedom is an understatement with Noah Fifita. To me, crazy statement. I know that we like to compare all-time pros and all-time legends to these guys just to paint an easier picture for you guys. But when you talk about someone that plays the most Mahomes-esque football in college football, to me, that's Noah Fifita. Granted, he's got some unbelievable talent around him. That certainly helps. He had Jacob Cowing last year, TDR McMillan as well this year. He has a really good offensive line. He had Jordan Morgan last year. He's got another first-round quarterback, offensive line prospect this year as well. So he's got some unbelievable talent around him. But, man, this guy is fantastic. Quick, compact release, has a really, really awesome arm, can step. He uses that tinier frame, still bigger than me, to really, really drive the football into those tight windows. And he's a tough kid. He will take a shot, and he will get up, and he will keep on going as well. Excellent under pressure. Someone that really, really could scramble, but he also maintains that pass-first mentality. So he's not someone like a Jalen Milroe that can escape the pocket easily, but he's just looking to run. He's always got his head up. He's always looking to make the play down the field. Man, I can't say enough good things about Noah Fifita. Also, another thing, just to quickly plug the Dashing Draft guys again, JWAC did do a one-on-one interview with Noah Fifita. That is on the Dashing Draft guys Patreon. So again, if you want to see that, the link will be in the description on the pinned comment below, and you could take a look at that. That is for free. That is something that we kind of wanted to give to you guys to maybe hope, wow, these guys have some good content. We're going to subscribe. So that one is fully for you guys there. A couple things. Again, not ideal size for the quarterback position. He does come up a little bit short on some deep passes. I've noticed McMillan had to come back to a few of those and make some unbelievable plays. So I do think he possesses NFL-level arm strength and good zip, but I think maybe his down the field passing could use a little bit of work. Too careful with the football, in my opinion. So what I mean by too careful with the football is, despite having a low turnover-worthy play rate, he also has a low big-time throw rate as well. So maybe a little too careful with the football at this point. But like I said, with the amount of talent that he has around him, I fully expect him to be that guy that is up at the top of the Heisman race when it's all said and done. I think Arizona is a clear-cut, easy choice to be in the college football playoffs this upcoming season. So coming up as my runner-up in the preseason quarterback rankings, I have Shedeur Sanders. Now, I don't know what some people think that he should be the number one overall pick. Some people think he should be an undrafted free agent. I mean, that is literally the craziest range that you could ask for, because you're the first player or you're not selected at all. So I think personally that a lot of people that think he's an undrafted free agent are just salty about his confidence. That's just me. And maybe his off the field antics, which I mean, I think is completely ridiculous at this point in the process. Let the kid live. That's just what I'm saying. I'm purely here for a football evaluation. And I really liked what I saw from Shedeur Sanders. I liked what I saw from him last year when I thought that he was going to enter the NFL draft. And I actually did a prospect profile on him last year. And really, it's kind of the same deal. I think he has the undeniable clutch gene. I think when the chips were down, even though, what were they, 4-8 last year? I mean, to me, it was hardly his fault. I know that we hold on to the ball too much, and I'm actually even going to say that at the end of this now. But his offensive line was one of the worst we've ever seen, ever. But be that as it may, he's got the Hall of Fame confidence, no pun intended, with his father. Despite being a playmaker and having some unreal statistics, he didn't put the ball in harm's way often at all, which was really nice. His processing, pre-snap and post-snap, unbelievable. Probably the best in the class. I think he's a really, really heady quarterback. I think he's super smart, a lot smarter than some people will give him credit for. Tremendous accuracy as well. All three levels of the field. Now, a couple things I didn't like about Sanders' game is he's all arm when it comes to throwing. This is an occurrence that I've seen a couple times, and we've spoke about a couple times in this video already. Not only that, his arm strength to me kind of flutters. So maybe it's due to the mechanics, but Sanders, to me, doesn't possess that elite arm strength. I think he's got, this might sound mean, but he's got more of that Gardner Minshew, Chad Pennington type of, Michael Pratt type of arm strength, where he's got good arm strength and he can make any NFL throw, but he's not going to be necessarily absolutely zipping it down the field. So that's something that I thought, could use. I don't really know how you could genuinely work on that to the point where it becomes elite, but it's something I'd like to see at least attempted to be working on. Another thing too, like I said, he does hold on to the ball, doesn't really step up as much as I'd like to see in the pocket, kind of backpedals into pressure, creates his own pressure sometimes as well. So these are minor things that he could clean up, but really he's catching a lot of flack for no reason. I think he's going to be one of the first 10 players taken off the board when it's all said and done in 2025. And he's got a legitimate shot to be the first quarterback off the board. And then my number one quarterback prospect going into the 2024-25 college football season is none other than Georgia Bulldogs' Carson Beck. Now, Beck, to me, is the best of every world what we've talked about in these prospects up until this point. Beck has, the youth on his side, the starting experience, the size, 6'4", 220 pounds. He's got very sneaky athleticism. He's someone that's not afraid to tuck and run. Really, really nice whip-like velocity and great arm strength to all three levels of the defense. One thing that really stood out to me more, I was actually coming down to the last week or so of my evaluations. I had Carson Beck at 2, Noah Fifita at number 1, and I had Shedeur Sanders at number 3. And really when I went back and I looked, I always verify everything. So even when I was done with my evaluations, I still went over my top 10 again. And I did make a couple changes here and there, whatever. But Carson Beck, to me, the accuracy and velocity on throws 20 plus yards down the field was the best in the class by far. He just knows where to put the football. He's got tremendous accuracy. And that's something, I got news for you people. Everyone's going to say, oh, he's a Georgia Bulldog, so, they got the best of the best. You cannot teach accuracy like that. There are some throws that he makes that are absolutely absurd, and we need to give Carson Beck his just desserts at this point. I think personally he's the best quarterback in college football going into the 2024-25 season. He does have a couple things he needs to work on for me. I would like to see him process a tick faster. His footwork sometimes isn't caught up to speed with the rest of his body, and he misses when he misses throws, he misses them high. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. To me, that means that your mechanics are a tick off as well, and you're releasing a little bit too high. But these are things that could easily be fixed. These are very coachable things that could be fixed, and I think Carson Beck has a legitimate shot. I'm not going to say being the first overall pick, but he has a legitimate shot at being the number 1 quarterback taken off the board. All right, so as promised here, this is what we're looking at here. So we covered the top 20. I'm going to just briefly go over the rest. So As you see here, we have this is my board. I'm not going to show you J-Wax. I didn't ask him, so I'm not going to show you his, but I'll gladly show you mine. As of right now, I do have 40. This is 47, not 49. So there's 47 quarterback prospects on my board here. We have these guys who are under construction, which means I'd like to see a little bit more from these guys going into it. These are the guys that I think would be better off being, not declaring this year. So Cade Klubnik, Jackson Dart, Kyron Drones, Drew Aller, and Caden Salters or Caden Salter are guys that I think will greatly benefit from being, quarterbacks that forego their draft eligibility. I don't know what I'm talking about here. Draft eligibility in 2025 and moving on to 2026. And then, of course, you have guys. So we'll go over. We're not going to go over it, but the rest of the guys that are on this board from 21 to 31 here: Grayson McCall, Matthew Sluka, Cam Rising, Donovan Smith is someone that I do definitely need to reevaluate, in my opinion. But as of right now, I just didn't love everything I saw. Daquan Finn, Jeff Sims, Will Rogers, Garrett Green, Zach Calzada, Hudson Card, and Cade McNamara are the rest of the guys on my quarterback board here. And then, like I said, Caden Salter, Drew Aller, Kyron Drones, Jackson Dart, and Cade Klubnik are guys that I think could benefit from staying in college one more year. And then we have guys that we just haven't really seen enough for to truly rank them here, in my opinion. So Miller Moss, Peyton Thorne, Brock Vandergriff, Curtis Work, Max Johnson, Luke Altmaier, Sam Herard, Connor Baslak, and Max Brosmer. That ends out my 47 quarterbacks. So this is what you get. So if you guys do subscribe to the Patreon and you subscribe for the $5 a month, you are getting the entire big board here. So I'll even give you guys a sneak peek real quick here of my running backs that I'm almost done with here. I have 3 more to do. So, a lot of these are ready to go. By the time that you guys read a ton of these, and look, we have full evaluations here. We'll go to the Carson Beck. Full evaluations on all of these guys here. So we are not BSing you. You have round projections. These, of course, are just temporary. We have color coordinated everything for the most part. So, you're not getting a bad product here, in my opinion. So that is the board. If you guys are interested, like I said, the pinned comment will have the Patreon link below. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope we see you in the next one.